And we've seen in recent days that the war itself has driven over 100,000 Sudanese refugees over the border. Recently, we saw more than 100,000 refugees crossing into Egypt. We also have about 20,000 non-Arab refugees escaping the Western Darfur region to Central African Republic. So others have gone to Eritrea, according to the recent reports. So these are conflict that is turning out to be worse every single hour. And Egypt is in a dilemma. So remember, Egypt was one of those countries at the beginning of the conflict that promised or pledged that they are not going to be involved, they are not going to intervene. But at the moment, Sudan's powerful neighbor to the north is watching what is going on there with, trepidation. But Egypt seems paralyzed, unable to take a clear position. And Egypt is also close to one of the two sides in the fighting, that is the Sudanese army. Meanwhile, the other side, the Rapid Support Forces under General Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, is believed to be backed by the United Arab Emirates, which is again a very important financial supporter of Egypt. So Egypt stands to bear the brunt of the prolonged conflict, but they are in a dilemma and they are not sure whether they should intervene. But in recent days, some people are saying that Egypt seems to be preparing to intervene or to invade Sudan. And the reason they are doing this is because, according to people who know more about what is going on there, is that a powerful Libyan militia leader and the Egyptian military both have sent military support to rival generals battling for control of neighboring Sudan. People familiar with the matter said, Khalifa Haftar, the commander of a faction that controls eastern Libya, dispatched one plane with the military supplies to Sudan's paramilitary Rapid Support Forces. Meanwhile, Egypt sent several warplanes and pilots to back the Sudanese military, they added. So it is believed that the two fighting sides are supported by different regional powers. The UAE is more interested in constructing ports, seaports along the Red Sea on the Sudanese side. So they are supporting the RSF, that is the Rapid Support Forces. The same with Saudi Arabia, because the RSF was fighting in Yemen on behalf of the Saudis and the Emiratis. And then we have Libya through General Haftar, where we heard about 10,000 Rapid Support Force fighters fighting for him in Libya from 2013. Now we are left with Egypt. Egypt supports the Sudanese army. They have always done that, regardless who is in charge. Traditionally, Egypt has always supported the Sudanese army. And the reason behind it is that Egypt sees Sudan as the center part of their national security. So because the security threat to Egypt stems from Sudan's strategic depth, corresponding to any military action by Egypt towards Ethiopia, should Ethiopia continue to pose a national security threat to Egypt's water, or the water share from the Nile River through the Al Nalda Dam. In this respect, then we also have Sudan's Rapid Support Forces maintaining a close tie with Ethiopian leadership, which is not in the best interests of Egypt, with Egypt reportedly giving military support to the Sudanese army, while Libya's renegade general Khalifa Haftar and others back Hemeti. Right? There is a real possibility of different Arab and African actors exacerbating the conflict by arming the different sides in Sudan. Egypt supports Burhan and sees the Sudanese army reflecting the Egyptian army as the only institution that can maintain the stability of Sudan, while at the same time, Egypt sees Hemeti as a mercenary. But there is no doubt that there is so much at stake in the case of Egypt in this conflict, because Sudan's stability is in Egypt and the region's strategic interest. But Egypt is highly unlikely to engage directly in this early stage and will instead focus its energy on peacemaking efforts. But as fighting escalates with no signs of slowing, Sudan's neighbor and political ally Egypt may inevitably be drawn to take some kind of action, and that is according to analysts. When and how the Egypt militarily will step in the conflict remains unclear. However, indications suggest that an Egyptian military intervention in Sudan is not far-fetched should the situation continue to deteriorate, especially given that the real confrontation between the RSF and the Sudanese army is expected to unfold after most of the current evacuations of foreigners is approaching completion. So kindly go to the comment section below and tell us, do you think that Egypt could intervene or invade Sudan, whichever way you want to put it? Do you think the Egyptian army is going to be involved in this conflict?